I received some information sometime last year regarding the activities of the Registrar or the Executive Secretary of the Scholarship Secretariat. And so we'll be tracking that to the extent that questions that I filed directed at the Minister of State at the Office of the President to come to Parliament to answer took so long. Eventually, when he got advertised, he failed to prepare the information for the minister to come to present to us.
And was advertised on Wednesday, the 13th of March, 2024.
Yes.
And I'm looking at paragraphs 1291 and 1292.
Yes.
Rockson-Nelson Dafeamekpor to ask the Minister of State at the Office of the President the details of all overpayments of stipend made to beneficiaries of government scholarships, both local and abroad, by the Registrar of the Scholarship Secretariat since he assumed office, with comprehensive account details on how the overpayments were made and recovered and through which accounts. Then there's another one standing in your name that you were to ask the Minister of State at the Office of the President the details of all official travels by the Registrar of the Scholarship Secretariat and his entourage since he assumed office, and the purpose as well as the total cost of each trip to the states.
Then there's a third one standing in the name of the Honorable Angela Lote.
That one, Angela, Mrs. Angela Oforuwa Alote, Afajato South. She was to ask the Minister of State at the Office of the President the full details of scholarships granted to Ghanaians for both local and international courses by the Scholarship Secretariat from 2017 to date, and the quantum of stipend paid and received by the beneficiaries of the scholarships.
Yes.
Of course, there's another question by Dr. Clement Apak, also on scholarships. So there has been some interest on the part of the NDC MPs in Parliament.
Yes, because we had information.
Yes.
Okay. Now, these questions erupted as a result of the information, the sordid information we had. One, including the fact that the Registrar of the Scholarship Secretariat travels, for instance, every week. He undertakes international travels every week.
Why, is it the GMPC boss who has been sacked, who has resigned?
Well, I don't know. And the information is that he travels large. He travels usually first class. That is why we are asking that question in Parliament. Two, that some persons who actually applied and got the applications approved were told that you were, for instance, entitled to, say, your application, your request was up to, say, $40,000 US or euros. But the approval has come for $45,000 US or euros. So you should pay the $5,000 back to a syndicate. People have information on that.
You are confirming what Suleiman Isifu, the scholar in Germany, what he said on Newsfile last week, that he has seen students, he has witnessed it. It's not that he's giving hearsay information. That there's a racket, there's racketeering going on there. So you make the application, they pay money, and then you take the money when it arrives, and then you pay a portion of it to a certain agent of the secretariat.
It's like a concept.
And that one particular student, his bank account was closed because he had withdrawn more than the threshold that you could do over there.
Yes. So all these matters engaged us. The other issue is that I have been on this man for some time. My information is that he had worked in the insurance industry and he misconducted himself professionally. So the National Insurance Commission conducted the disciplinary inquiry and barred him from operating within the insurance industry. That report, I have done an RTI request twice. The NIC has refused to give me a copy of that report.
Oh, appeal to the
yes,
RTI Commission. They will give it to you.
I have done that. So it was supposed to have helped me to put together a certain dossier on the man. That is why we're happy that even though we went on recess, these questions couldn't be answered. And we're hoping that upon return, we would have pursued the Minister of State at the Office of the President to come and answer. Then, boom, Manasseh releases.
And Dr. Kinsella Jiman will be listening to the show, will be watching. Please, you can call in if you have any rebuttal to the suggestions that Rockson is making about what you may have suffered, some adverse findings against you in your earlier life. You can call us and let us know.
Yes.
Remember, last week they had a representative here, and we committed to having them back. Unfortunately, they told our production that they will be unable to participate going forward. So let's go.
Yes. So the issues at the Scholarship Secretariat is not merely because it's about Dr. Kingsley Ajimai. It's about the fact that there's an inequitable distribution of public funds. You see, we are all happy about what Get Fund is doing. Why? Because there's fairness, there's equity, there's transparency. So when you apply to Get Fund, and you are a continuing undergraduate student, and you have, say, a second upper CGPA 3.4, and somebody has 3.5, Get Fund will prioritize the 3.5 over you. That is fairness. That is fairness.
But the auditor found that Get Fund, by giving out scholarships, was usurping the role of the Scholarship Secretariat and had recommended that they should cease and desist.
Not at all. When that report came before Parliament,
right,
we told the Auditor General that they were wrong because the Get Fund law permits the Get Fund to do what they are doing.
It permits them to give money to the Scholarship Secretariat to disburse for scholarships for local.
We told them that there's no substantive enactment of Parliament governing the activities of the Scholarship Secretariat, and that we would prefer the statutory entity to actually account for its funds by rolling out the scholarship other than giving it to a Scholarship Secretariat that is not bound under any law. If you want to stretch it, then you may have to move them under Public Financial Management Act, which is a long stretch. Because you see, it's an extra-ministerial body set up by Nkrumah and placed under the Office of the President. And it has remained there all these years under the Office of the President. So now, when even the Auditor General audits them, they audit them under government machinery. So it's buried under litany of agencies found under the Office of the President. So the details do not come out.
But how do you applaud the Get Fund's disbursement?
Yes.
When the special audit, 2012, 2017, or 2018, discovered so much rot. They had overspent by 300%. You had ministers like Opoku Prempeh, Adwoa Safo, receiving hefty sums to go for 3 weeks training in Harvard conference.
Okay, can I address that?
Money that could take care of 6 MPhil,
Can I address that? So because of that, Get Fund has been directed. So they no longer do what they call the foreign heavily. They do a lot of local sponsorship, postgraduate, undergraduate. So the courses that are materially available here in several public tertiary institutions could not be sponsored in a foreign land. So they've taken the advice and stipulations from Parliament, and they are going according to. That is why when we are approving the formula, when we are applying the formula, when we are approving the Get Fund formula, we are able to interrogate the figures and approve of them. So as for Get Fund, they are able to account, and there's transparency. But the Scholarship Secretariat, none. So it's such a big problem, and that is why the minority is saying that interdict the man and ask the Auditor General to conduct a special inquiry or audit into his activities between when he assumed office and when he will be interdicted. Because you see, if people conduct themselves like this in public office and there's no consequence, they consider themselves to be in a comfort zone and will perpetuate in their act. Look, Dr. Ajimai cannot say that there's no law governing what his conduct in public office. You are a public officer. You are enjoined by the LI 2378-2019, the LI underpinning the Public Financial Management Act. That whilst as a leader of the covered entity in disbursing public funds, you ought to apply certain transparent guidelines. But he won't. And he will call into programs and say that now we need the law. No. The law already exists. We may not have a law covering your entity as a scholarship secretariat, but Parliament approves funds for you. And when those funds are approved, you are enjoined under the Public Financial Management Act to apply the funds in a certain manner and account for it. You don't apply it capriciously to your whims and caprices. So my comments on this matter will be very brief. I share in the earlier submissions, and I support the call that it should be interdicted immediately for a special audit to be conducted into his activities, and then we can take it up from there thereafter.
All right.